Olivia Munn and John Mulaney's love story is not a picture-perfect romantic fairy tale, but something more genuine, full of twists, vulnerability, and deep resilience. Their relationship didn't begin with a grand romantic gesture or a whirlwind courtship. It started slowly, almost imperceptibly, with an encounter at a mutual friend's wedding in 2013. Munn was instantly intrigued by Mulaney, but at the time, he was in another relationship, and they went their separate ways, keeping only a distant, infrequent connection over the years. Years later, after a difficult period in both of their lives, fate brought them together again under extraordinary circumstances. In late 2020, Mulaney entered rehab for drug and alcohol addiction, something he had battled quietly for years. He emerged from that experience newly sober and trying to rebuild his life. At the same time, Munn, who had admired Mulaney from afar, reconnected with him just as he was navigating the aftermath of a public divorce and fragile sobriety. In a twist that neither of them anticipated, Olivia found herself pregnant not long after they started seeing each other. She later admitted that they weren't even officially a couple at the time. Their relationship had not yet matured, and both were still figuring out who they were in the midst of massive personal changes. Munn assumed they would simply co-parent, perhaps from different cities, but something more powerful began to grow between them. As the pregnancy progressed, their bond deepened, not out of obligation, but from a shared sense of responsibility, care, and emotional honesty. Mulaney, freshly sober and fully aware of the gravity of raising a child, found himself tested in new ways. Munn, determined to ensure a safe and stable environment for their baby, imposed boundaries that may have seemed unconventional. She instituted random drug testing during her pregnancy. Mulaney has since spoken about this with surprising openness, saying it was both challenging and comforting. It helped them both feel grounded during a time when everything else was uncertain. In November 2021, they welcomed their first child, Malcolm Heap Mulaney. His birth marked a turning point. Parenthood solidified their partnership in a way that nothing else could have. Mulaney described becoming a father as transformative. It made his sobriety real, tangible. He was no longer just staying clean for himself. He had a little boy who needed him, depended on him, and mirrored him. While Mulaney focused on his recovery and new fatherhood, Munn quietly shouldered her own internal battles. Less than 2 years after giving birth, she received life-changing news during a routine OB/GYN checkup. A lifetime breast cancer risk assessment came back alarmingly high, and after follow-up tests, she was diagnosed with an aggressive form of breast cancer, luminal B, in both breasts. The diagnosis came fast and hit hard. She chose to keep the news private initially, undergoing multiple major surgeries within 10 months, including a double mastectomy, all while caring for a toddler and leaning heavily on Mulaney for support. Munn has said that Mulaney was more than just present during this time. He was indispensable. He took over many of the day-to-day parenting responsibilities, scheduled her medical appointments, stayed by her side during her surgeries, and helped keep her spirits up, often with humor that arrived at the wrong, but somehow perfect moment. Their shared laughter, even during post-op pain, was both ridiculous and healing. Munn described laughing so hard at one of his jokes after surgery that she begged him to leave the room to save her stitches. One of the most moving aspects of Munn's cancer journey was her decision to document it for her son. She said that if she didn't survive, she wanted Malcolm to know how hard she fought for him. That impulse, to preserve something for their child, speaks to the way their family was now the center of everything. Her vulnerability inspired others to get screenings and risk assessments. In publicly sharing her experience, she became a powerful advocate, especially for young women who might otherwise overlook early warning signs. During this storm, the couple decided to expand their family again. Before beginning cancer treatment, Munn had preserved embryos, a decision that proved vital. Their daughter, May June Mulaney, was born via surrogate in September 2024. May's name honors Munn's Chinese and Vietnamese roots, and her arrival brought light during one of the darkest chapters of their life together. She was born in the year of the dragon, a symbol of power and fortune, and her presence has indeed felt like a gift of renewal. That summer, Mulaney and Munn quietly got married. There was no lavish ceremony, no press blitz, just an intimate gathering with their son present. The officiant was a close friend, actor Sam Waterston, and the moment was more about personal commitment than spectacle. By choosing each other in such an understated way, they emphasized the quiet strength that had defined their journey all along. But even with 2 children and a renewed sense of purpose, life hasn't been easy. Munn has opened up about experiencing emotional breakdowns as a mother, especially while juggling 2 young kids and physical recovery. During a trip late in 2024, she found herself completely overwhelmed and recorded herself crying in the bathroom. It was a raw, honest glimpse into motherhood that she shared publicly, not for sympathy, but to remind others that it's okay to break down sometimes, that being a parent doesn't mean being perfect. Their story is full of these kinds of moments, real, unfiltered, deeply human. It's not just about falling in love, but about choosing love over and over again, even when life gets messy. Mulaney, once best known for his sharp stand-up comedy and late-night appearances, has become a man whose comedy is now laced with tenderness. Fatherhood and partnership have altered his voice, giving it depth and authenticity. He's no longer performing from a distance. He's speaking from lived experience. Munn, on the other hand, has emerged not only as an actress and activist, but as someone who embodies strength and softness at once. Her openness about cancer, fertility, and the mental toll of motherhood has made her an unexpected voice of a generation of women juggling impossible expectations with grace and grit. Together, Munn and Mulaney have become an example of how love can look very different from what we expect and still be extraordinary. Their relationship has endured addiction recovery, unplanned pregnancy, postpartum anxiety, cancer, and the chaos of raising 2 young children. What's held it together is their mutual respect, shared humor, and unwavering commitment to their family. They don't pretend to have it all figured out, and that's what makes their story so relatable and so compelling. There are no grand illusions in their narrative, no glamorous facades or tidy resolutions. What they offer instead is a portrait of love in progress. Imperfect, often messy, but deeply rooted in empathy, trust, and resilience. It's not a romance built on fantasy. It's built on showing up when things are hard, on choosing each other even in the darkest moments, and on finding joy and laughter amidst pain. As they raise Malcolm and May together, Olivia and John continue to walk side by side, not as perfect partners, but as real ones. Their story reminds us that what makes a relationship strong isn't avoiding hardship, but facing it with honesty.